John here. It's Wednesday, so that means some legato exercises and licks. In today's lesson, we're going to go through a lick as usual, but we're also going to cover a variation on the very first routine that I gave you in this series. If you need tabs for this one, you can check out my Patreon, where you also get access to the complete lesson library containing hundreds of different lessons, but you can also check out the standalone at my Teachable site. Before we get started today, I highly suggest you sign up for my newsletter, because once you do that, you'll get access to 17 lessons straight away, and then you get a series of exclusive lessons you won't find anywhere else. Alright, this lick is based on the A Dorian / blues scale combo, and what that means is basically a Dorian scale with the flat 5 included. So that's the shape I'm going up here. Just from the root here, we have the minor third, fourth, flat 5, 5, 6, flat 7, and then 1, 2, and flat 3 again. And I also add a lot of chromatic passing tones going back, but that's basically us filling in the gaps, so we're gonna get to that soon. But the actual initial pattern goes like this. So only pick when I change strings, and I use hybrid picking here. You can use whatever you feel comfortable with, but I suggest hybrid picking. So basically, go up that far, right? And from this note, we just ascend that far. And from here, we're gonna add the passing notes or passing tones. It's basically gonna be this standard 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern. Goes like this. And from here we go down and land on the root. And I do a pull off to the flat 7, but you can do whatever you want to end the lick or continue with something else. So put together. And for me, I prefer to use hammer-ons from nowhere when I do the descending part here to keep it as legato as possible. So I don't pick anything once I get up. This is the last note that I pick. And hammer-ons from nowhere just means that you're hammering on a new string instead of picking it. So once again, slowly from the beginning. And the picking that I use is basically down, M, down, M, down, M, A. Alright, so in this lesson we're going to look at a variation on the very first routine we did in this legato and tapping Wednesday series. So we're going to use the same combinations, so you can just check back there to see all the 24 finger combinations. And I would suggest using this as either you can do it as well as the regular one, or you can use it maybe every other day. But at first it might be a good idea to do it for a few days in a row just to get used to it. But I find this is a very good one to get used to hammer-ons from nowhere with every finger, which will help you a lot with tapping as well. So just like in the first one, we need something to mute the strings here, and that's simply to make it less annoying to practice, because we want to focus on the actual movement of the fingers and being relaxed and all that stuff. So we don't want to have to think about muting at this point. I don't use any type of groove gear stuff, but that would be ideal for this. But you could also use a hairband or maybe just a sock or whatever. I'm just going to use my right hand now to mute the strings while I demonstrate the first pattern. All right, so here's the exercise with 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to play it first and then explain it. It's pretty self-explanatory though, but here we go. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you saw, I basically did 1, 2, 3, 4 from the lowest E string, and then I mirror that version like that. So I go from G, D, A, E, and then I do the same thing in the middle string group, and the same thing on the highest string group, so which would be D to E here. Move that up a half step, and just repeat. But obviously, as I did it the first time, so you want to get it smooth and have fast transitions. So work on your transition time when you do this. So I would highly suggest that you do this instead of trying to go really. It's fine to try that afterwards, but don't do it as you actually practice. You really want to focus on the accuracy here. And that meaning trying to hit the same part of your fingertip each time and being relaxed and not, flying away with the fingers, and obviously only having one finger down at a time because you don't want any overlap like that. But you also don't want to get this sound. So you want a very legato sound but no overlap. The actual technique here is really about the speed which you move from finger to finger, and not as hard as you hit the fretboard. Because if you hit it faster, you will get a nice tone anyway, and you don't need to feel like you're smashing the fretboard, because that will, in most cases, not improve your tone. All right, so I'm just gonna go through this with 1, 2, 4, 3 as well. So it's gonna go like this: 1, 2, 4, 3. Right, so slowly. And then you simply move on to the next variation, and you keep going like that until you've done all 24. Just a quick tip here: when you practice this and any type of 24 finger combination exercise, it's good to just write group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, and each number will correlate with whatever finger you're starting with, right? So you have 4 groups. And if you do that on a piece of graph paper or in just a document on your computer, as you practice, you don't need to start with the first group every time. You just need to make sure that you do all groups, but it can be a good idea to move that around a bit. So maybe today you start doing 1, 2, 3, and 4, but tomorrow you might start at 2 and then go to 1 and then 3 and 4. Third day you might start at 4 and go to 1 and 3 and 2, whatever, just random. And they found that when you do this type of practice, you actually improve more because you don't get into ruts as easily. Because if you always go in the same order for everything that you practice, it's very likely that you're going to get so used to it that you sort of zone out after a while. Using that graph paper will be really handy because you can just cross off whatever group you did, and then you can do a random list every day. All right, so give this a try, and if you have any problems or questions, just post them below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Also, like and subscribe and all that stuff. And finally, it would be really helpful if you could post any type of issues you have with your guitar technique. Can also be theory or ear training or how to practice or whatever it might be. Just post that below because that will help me make more relevant lesson material for you guys. Thanks again for watching and see you next time.